Chuck, live now? Chuck, are we live now?
You're muted.
Chuck, are we live now?
AK, yeah, no, muted. You're muted, AK. Got to speak up.
Jose, are we live now?
Yeah.
I think we're live.
I think we're live, pal.
Okay. Oh, we're live. Oh, okay. Hello. Well, everyone, once again, listen, people are tuning in now, and I think the first question that they're wondering, this is the MMA fight. Well, it's the MMA fighting preview show for UFC Vegas 26, Rodriguez versus Waterson. Pre-fight fan Q&A. And yes, it's me again. You are not hearing the sweet, sweet sounds of Mike Heck. Anyone who tuned in yesterday, we told you that Mike Heck was going to be here today. He's preoccupied. He is in Uncasville, Connecticut. He's been covering Bellator all week. He's had obligations. So I am once again here to act as your host. Thankfully, I am again joined by the always effervescent José Youngs.
What did you call me? That was a new one.
I said you are always effervescent. You bring light to our lives.
That's not
and
true.
The brilliant, the man behind the scenes, and also really in front of the scenes a lot of the time, Casey Leydon. Casey.
Oh, hey, AK. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. Sorry, you look stuck there. Okay. Well, guys, yesterday we said this is a card. It still is a card. That has not changed. It's a card.
Technically.
It's still technically a card, as some people are mentioning in the comments that we did have some news. Jose, do you want to catch people up on the changes we just had about a couple of hours ago, I think, to tonight's fight card?
Has it even been an hour? Well, probably. It's been damn near close. And what do I always say, AK? What do I always say?
You always say that as soon as a fight is booked, we are sure to see it. Things never go wrong in this business. Something like that, right?
That's true. That's pretty much what I say on opposite day. But yes, Amanda Ribas had tested positive for COVID-19, so her fight against Angela Hill is no mas at UFC Vegas 26 tonight. And what I always say is fights are never official until both individuals are inside the octagon, because as we saw with Chaz Skelly, and as we've seen with Kevin Holland, it doesn't matter. Even if your hands are wrapped and you've made the walk or ready to walk, your fight can still fall out. But yes, Amanda Ribas, and I believe someone on her team, I'm not quite sure, has tested positive for COVID-19. So her fight against Angela Hill is no more. No word on if it's being rebooked or not. It's still pretty early. So, but we soldier on. But the cursed fight has lost another high-level fight.
Yes, we soldier on. We have the one of the prelims has been moved up.
It was like the one.
It was a fight.
It was one yesterday. I was all like, "This is my main event!
No.
Yay! I can't wait for it."
Casey.
Yeah, I was like, oh.
Casey. It was a great choice for a main card opener. We said it was wonderful how the strawweight division shook out with Marina having fought Amanda and having replaced Michelle to fight Amanda, and Michelle having fought Angela Hill, and there's a nice little cluster of contenders on this card. But no, the opener will now be a middleweight bout between Phil Hawes and Kyle Dacus, promoted from the prelims. The prelims still starting at 6 p.m. ET, 3 p.m. Pacific time, guys, on ESPN Plus. So that hasn't changed. You guys don't have to change your schedules or anything. I know you're all basing your whole Saturday around the UFC Vegas 26 prelims. That's the same. Main card at 8, 5 Pacific time. But it is only a 3-fight prelims. So buckle up, everyone. Because 3-fight prelims over 2 hours. So it might stretch. If there's a finish in there, a first-round finish, which I think there will be. I think I've actually predicted 2 of these 3 fights.
They're going to be like, first round finish. All right, let's watch that whole fight and the walkouts in slow motion.
Let's show the main event from out of last weekend. I don't know what they're going to do, but they'll find a video. The ESPN crew.
Clearly, they're going to talk about last night's Bellator card. I mean, that's what they're going to have to talk about in all that free time.
Which we should. That was a good one.
It was an excellent one.
Fine main card. That was a fine main card.
That was a fine card. That was a fine card, top to bottom. Like, if your name was Johnny, that was a great night for you.
It is. 3 straight Johnnies. 3 straight Johnnies. It was a. It was. That was on the prelims. We had 3 straight Johnnies, maybe the first time in MMA history, and then a super exciting main card. It was great. I think it's a tall order for UFC to top today. Jose, I'm assuming you watched the Bellator card as well.
Yes, there was some issues with my Showtime stream on the app, but yeah, I watched as much as I could. I at least got in for the last few prelims in the main card. But yeah, it was a fun night all around. High level bantamweight action.
Yeah, I was like, what? Yeah, well, I was gonna say, what stood out for you the most was the main event.
I mean, the main event was awesome. It was like incredibly high level, and I had some people over to watch while I was working too. Well, I was helping Cool Alex with video clips from Mike Heck, and they don't really watch MMA, but they were pretty terrified of Anthony Johnson when he just even entered the ring, the cage, and then they made it very clear the drastic speed difference between the co-main event and main event. So yeah, awesome night. They saw someone's nose get shattered, which was what stood out for me, especially because we saw the photos of Derek Anderson's face just kind of erupt at the foot of Michael Venom Page. And then, unfortunately, Patricky Pitbull versus Peter Queally was halted due to doctor stoppage. Well, not unfortunately. I always like if there's going to be a stoppage to at least I don't like any fights that leave any sort of wiggle room for tomfoolery. Does that make sense? We all agree Peter Queally won fair and square. The cut man couldn't stop the cut from bleeding. But of course, Patricio Pitbull and Patricky Pitbull are like, oh, he never actually finished me. So it's unfortunate all around, but Peter Queally won fair and square. And actually that leads into more storyline where if he gets to fight Patricio Pitbull now.
Coker kind of implied they're probably going to try to run it back. So we'll see.
Yeah, I don't like that, but
I think absolutely should run it back. I thought it was a BS stoppage. It was it was on the scalp. It wasn't in his eye. It was like, dude, we've seen enough fights that we it looked bad, but if it wasn't impairing his vision, he was fine. But doctor stopped it, and I had Patricky up 2-0. But
did you see the cards?
Yeah, I did. That was weird. That was weird because.
Tied on two of them, 1919. One of them, 2018 Queally.
That was ridiculous. 2018. I could see maybe giving Queally the second round, but the first one I was like, no, he was just getting chopped up and getting punched in the face. But
yeah, that was odd.
Good on Queally, but yeah.
I'd rather that they just force the Patricio matchup because they can always do Patricky and Queally again after Patricio probably beats him. I shouldn't say that, but. I mean, I think Patricio would be a massive favorite in that matchup. So you can always run it back after. I don't think you need to run it back right away. It was a bit of a strange stoppage. Corey Anderson did say after on Twitter they had to stuff a whole thing of gauze in his head. But you're right. It didn't appear to be impairing his vision, which is normally what we understand to be one of the requirements to stop a fight in these circumstances. But they made that call. But yeah, the return of Rumble Johnson, very exciting, super exciting fight. Jose Augusto looked, man, what a gamer, eh? Dude, he broke his hand clearly in the first 2 minutes.
That's one of those fights where even though Augusto got deaded, I mean, I'm excited to see him fight again. He wasn't someone I was really on my radar. He was just kind of a 205er in Bellator. I didn't really think too high of him, but it's holy moly, he came this close. I mean, if the ref wouldn't have stopped it at some point when he had Johnson hurt, I don't think any of us wouldn't, throwing a big fit. We were like, but yeah, he had him hurt. And dude, Anthony Johnson did two things he's never done before. He got seriously rocked up a punch during a fight, and he came back from adversity, which is that's one of those things that's always been kind of maybe the big thing against Anthony Johnson, at least at a higher weight class, is once he gets tired, once he gets once the deck isn't in his favor, he folds fast, but he fought through it and came back with a big knockout. It was a super fun fight.
Once we saw Augusto go for that choke, we're like, oh, this is the way out. This is Rumble's way out.
This is it. Yeah.
Rumble, he's giving you your way out. You're hurt. You're probably tired again from this is your first fight in 4 years. Who knows where his gas tank is? He could be gassed already. And we thought, here comes the tap. He escaped the rear naked choke, comes back in the second round, and scores a huge knockout. So that was pretty wild. Yeah, there you go. Serge Kratos mentioning it's good to see him overcome some adversity. It's true. We just hadn't seen that before, really, on too many occasions with him. So, and huge fight now with him and Vadim Nemkov. So the tournament shaken. Other than other than the somewhat pretty depressing Bader Machida rematch, really nice opening round of the light heavyweight Grand Prix.
Now,
so fingers
is the Bader
crossed.
Machida rematch, was that depressing only because
I'm a fan
still
of Machida?
Too tough? Machida just because. I mean, if Bader wouldn't have finished Machida in the second round or something, we'd have been okay, good fight. But since Machida
How
just
exciting,
kept
yeah.
staying alive for like a little bit. It was just like, oh, Lyoto, just quit. You're too pretty. Stop it.
And we'll talk about the main event a little bit. Jose, how good did Sergio Pettis look? I mean, Juan Archuleta, by the way, this was not blown out by any means for anyone who watched this fight. He was not blown up by any means, but he was beaten by a Sergio
No,
Pettis. I don't know.
those
What do
were
you
the
think, Jose?
definitions of 10-9 rounds. Like I had it 4-1 Sergio. I can't remember which rounds I scored it for him, but I thought the judges actually got it spot on. Someone gave it 50-45. I can't quite remember if that was a weird deal or not, but I think I gave round 2 to Juan Archuleta. Really fun fight, really high level fight, kind of mixed in a lot of pretty much everything in MMA. Sergio had pretty fantastic takedown defense. It always just felt like he was just landing first when they would do these wild exchanges in the pocket. And Sergio, and I didn't help Juan where maybe he connected too, but something like Juan would come in and kind of keep his head down, and then his neck would keep snapping back, and just that image of Juan's like neck snapping around from like the end of the punches clearly didn't do him any favors. But incredibly high level fight. He didn't get blown away by any means, but I just think Sergio landed first and Juan wouldn't get quite. He was kind of loading up and missing near the end. So awesome fight. Sergio showed a ton of growth from his UFC debut to now, and he won fair and square. There's no robbery there, and I'm excited to see who he fights next in that very underrated bantamweight division over in Bellator.
Oh, bantamweights in general. Casey, bantamweights. Am I right? Bantamweights.
They're best division across the world. Every promotion across the freaking world. Like bantamweights are
Unbelievable.
The without a doubt the most the deepest division in the world. And I don't think there's a. I mean, I would still say Peter Yan has the #1 bantamweight in the world, but it's so close right now. There's not like a big gap between #1 and #2 and #2 and #3. Like in every promotion, it's incredible. It's incredible.
There's just so many good fights. Again, you tune into any promotion. It's a shame. I think the PFL does not have a bantamweight division this season, unfortunately. But otherwise, you find a great 135-pound fight everywhere. And really, man, just amazing to see the journey of Sergio Pettis. For anyone he's an example of someone that we got to see hyped up early, go kind of through the UFC grinder, and somehow still make it out like the other side. And it worked out. That doesn't always happen. We've seen, Sage Northcutt's be an example of someone who kind of got chewed up and spit out a bit. I mean, there's still hope for him to become a future champion someday, but just hasn't happened for him right now. But Sergio, he had big wins. But Joseph Benavidez, who else was in there? Jose, help me. Who else was in there? I literally just wrote about this.
For what? Say it.
Some of the big wins that Sergio had in the UFC. Benavidez, of course, the biggest one.
Doesn't he have a win over Brandon Moreno? If I remember correctly.
Brandon Moreno and John Moraga. Yes, yeah. And John Moraga was another big one. Yeah. So
I believe the Moreno fight was the main event of a Mexico card. The unfortunate thing for Pettis in that case is like it felt like for a hot minute, every time he would get really close to a title or he'd have a #1 contender fight, he would just come up short. And it was always kind of a lackluster performance all around. Like Cejudo kind of grinded him out. Formiga kind of grinded him out. Font just was bigger because Pettis went up from flyweight to bantamweight right there. And Font's is a pretty decently sized bantamweight. So he just never kind of got over that hump. And then Ryan Benoit just caught him. He caught him. It was a fair stoppage, I think. And Benoit had a long layoff.
It's crazy, but that was when Pettis was like 21. So young.
Well, yeah, and then they did this thing they always do, and they give they fed him to Alex Caceres, and Alex Caceres is kind of like that gatekeeper that they always like, the Chase Hoopers, the Crone Gracies, the Sergio Pettises. Like, you always give that prospect a test against Alex Caceres, and he's the very definition of a gatekeeper for not the top 15, but just, I don't know, top 20. Alex Caceres, and he just came up short. And I think after that, he dropped to flyweight relatively soon after. But yeah, Sergio was great. Won fair and square. And he's
big moment.
And this isn't a knock on Anthony, but I've heard coaches who have worked with both the Pettis brothers, and they said, dude, Sergio, that's the guy. Like Anthony himself.
Anthony himself.
He's like, people just didn't realize how young Sergio was. Like, you mentioned the Caceres fight. Yeah, he was like 20, 21, And it's really, like what you said, Alex, it's good that Pettis didn't take really bad losses. He lost, like, submissions. I mean, I know Ryan Benoit got him. But, he lost. He's he got grinded out by just bigger fighters, and just he learned from that. And what we saw last night, that's not even prime Sergio Pettis. That's just finally him so much getting close to that full potential that his brother has said, other coaches have said, that that obviously Scott Coker believes in. And great. Just I'm excited. I'm excited for the Bellator bantamweight division. I'm super excited for the UFC bantamweight division. So awesome.
And look, Anthony himself has said from day one, maybe it's just being a good big brother, but he has said from day one, he's always said, my brother's a future champ. My brother's, if you think I'm good, wait till you see when Sergio comes along. And now we finally saw it come to fruition. Sorry, so we've taken a lot of time, guys. I'm sorry, recapping. But again, the circumstances are a little strange today. Like I said, we only really have a 9-card fight to discuss. So this one was Mike's not here. Mike would be saying right now, guys, this is the people's show. So we will be taking your questions. Normally, I would say please try to stick to Vegas stuff. But again, I understand it's a little scant. So if you guys got Bellator questions, still want to talk about PFL, any other craziness in the MMA world, of course, throw it in. But Vegas 26 questions, definitely welcome. So, Casey, feel free to throw one up there. Let's see what we got. We got. Thank you, listeners and viewers, for your patience. Cole Farr, where's Mike? Mike Heck is in scenic Uncasville, Connecticut, right now, just doing Bellator cleanup. He's been holding it down all week. Check MMAfight.com for tons of great coverage. Got a great interview with James Gallagher, some Scott Coker stuff. Preview show. He did a preview show with Josh Thompson. I think it's still worth watching, even though I know obviously the card is done. So Mike has been on the scene in Connecticut. Dwayne Comiskey, hello from Peterborough. Shout outs Peterborough. It's good to see you, Dwayne. Thank you for tuning in.
Peterborough. That's the Duval of Ontario, right?
No. Oh, I think we called something else the Duval of Ontario before. I can't recall what it is now.
All right.
Okay, Debo goated. We did some picks yesterday, but let's go a little bit deeper into it. I don't know if we had more time to think about it. Debo goated asking, who you got in the Cerrone fight? Jose?
Mine hasn't changed. It's Donald Cerrone. I think historically he does well with fighters stylistically of Alex Morono's caliber. And Alex Morono is fantastic, but it's short notice fight. He's not the biggest welterweight, obviously. I don't think he cuts a ton of weight, and if he does, it's never really shown he made weight. So can't really. Again, I don't think he cuts a ton. Cowboy has been in camp this whole time. I'm curious to see how the long layoff plays out. Obviously, the big knock at him is physically how he's doing. Because he's had some grueling fights, some pretty violent knockouts. His eye was blown up against Tony Ferguson. He got knocked dead by Justin Gaethje. Got his nose kicked in by a Cowboy, and then got eye gouged against Anthony Pettis and Nico Price. And all those fights were pretty grueling on the body. Obviously, a few of those were even at lightweight, so he had to cut down to 155. I'm curious more than anything how his body holds up. That doesn't change my pick. I still think Donald Cerrone will win just based on how he historically does against fighters of similar body shape and style against Alex Morono.
Casey, I think you're picking Morono, right?
I am picking Morono. Mostly because I just don't think a Cowboy that we've kind of grown accustomed. I don't think that's there anymore, and I think Morono is gonna put a beating on him. Put a beating on Cerrone tonight, and I'll be interested to see what happens though. It's Cowboy's in this kind of weird. I know I've read his comments, he's like, I don't know. He's like, oh, now I'm a motivated cowboy. Now it's like motivated cowboy type of stuff. So, but the thing going in his favor though, he has had a big layoff. So maybe this is good for him, or maybe it's bad for him. I'm not sure. I don't know. Maybe when he had that big 4-fight losing streak, he was facing like the top of the best. So, and he's facing him like with relatively quick turnarounds too. So, it's hard to take too much into that, but those are beatings he took, so that's not good.
Yeah, no, Morono definitely has a chance. I'm going Cerrone. I think Morono's the kind of guy like in his prime, not even in his prime, even as of a couple of years ago. I think Cerrone styles on guys like this. Hard-headed, tough guys, good cardio, but I would think less skilled. I consider to be less skilled strikers than him, less well-rounded fighters. But again, he turned 38 in March, Cowboy Cerrone. So we don't know. We don't know what we'll see. And as we said, about 60 years old in fight years. So
yeah.
So there you go.
Best wins at welterweight. What is?
Mike Perry.
Now I'm struggling to remember who he.
Mike Perry was an impressive one just because it was like a belly down armbar. I'm not talking about like the caliber of opponents, but like just the performance all around was pretty impressive. I think the Yancy Medeiros one was at welterweight, if I remember correctly. That was a first round TKO.
Grandma Cerrone.
And then
Yancy's a 55 that goes up and down, kind of. Yeah.
He head kicked Matt Brown into oblivion, and then he had that just killer combo against Patrick Cote that we've all seen a million times.
Rick Story.
That's what I meant. But he also, I'm
God.
pretty sure he finished Patrick Cote too, and he tapped Alex Cowboy Oliveira from the bottom, if I remember. So there was a point. There was like a 4-5 fight stretch where Cowboy looked really impressive at welterweight.
That was also
but again, like
ago.
these were all like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But then who did he ran into? Masvidal, Lawler, and Darren Till. So he lost to some pretty
and then Leon Edwards too.
Yeah, some heavy, and Leon Edwards. So like those are what Jorge Masvidal, former title challenger, Robbie Lawler, former champ, Darren Till was a massive welterweight, former title challenger. Leon Edwards, a lot of people think should be a title challenger if you like already, and then Tony Ferguson, interim champ, Gaethje, interim champ, Conor McGregor, champ, Anthony Pettis, champ. So he's pretty much only losing to like the top 2-3 fighters in these divisions.
Yeah, and the Nico fight was competitive. It was a draw, so that was a competitive fight. So I don't know if that's any sign if people want to.
Well, it was a draw because Nico stabbed him in the eye.
The eye poke.
It was a draw because of a point deduction.
I put Nico and Brandon Moreno kind of the same level. Yeah,
I just want to tell people the card is, as far as we know, still scheduled to start at 6 p.m. ET, 3 p.m. PT tonight. But I wouldn't be surprised if the first fight doesn't happen until 6:30. I think the broadcast could kick off and we could get quite a bit of fluff before our first fight comes out. That's what I'm guessing. I don't think the first fight will actually be at 6, but the show will start at 6. Casey, what else we got? Chris S., shout out to your Gravediggers poster.
Yeah. It's a classic album. Have you listened to that album, AK? Gravediggers?
Oh, is that a group? Is that a musical group?
Yeah. Moving on.
That was
Jeez.
So sad that Hebos versus Hill fight got canceled.
Thank
you for the question, Jose from YouTube. Casey, do we need to talk about this? I know you're grieving.
I just want to share misery loves company. So I'm just sharing. We're all sad. Like, dude, there's so much. Everyone's just bummed out. I think that was the people's main event.
It was a really good looking fight. Well, no, hashtag Neil on Neil is the people's main event. Come on. And as Jose proposed yesterday, the loser will change the spelling of their name to the other Neil. Yeah. Don't forget. Scott, I don't know. Casey, post show tonight.
Oh,
please.
yeah.
I'll be doing some Canelo coverage, so I may not be here. But fingers crossed, you guys will have Mike Heck back. Hopefully, Mike Heck will be available. But like I said, he's kind of running around, and it's Uncasville, guys. That dude's. When you go to Uncasville, you just party like 24/7. So I don't know. He could be like in a gutter somewhere,
hammered Mike Heck.
Yeah, he could just be rocked.
Dude,
for the Magic
tonight it's not gonna be Mike Heck. It's gonna be Mike Hell.
Oh, Mike, give him hell.
Yeah.
So I will once again advertise the return of Mike Heck, and fingers crossed he will show up. He's a consummate professional, so hopefully.
Look at this.
I might be doing some Canelo stuff. Azan Zaman wants to know, whom do you want to see Pettis fight next? Magomed or Patchy? Well, so Patchy was victorious.
Neither.
Not his teammate. I know they oddly asked if he was interested in fighting his teammate.
Kyoji Horiguchi. You should fight Kyoji Horiguchi.
Which he called out. Jose, go ahead. Elaborate.
Kyoji Horiguchi never lost the Bellator Bantamweight Championship of the world. He was the Ryzen and Bellator champ because, of course, he had that cross promotion fight against Darren Caldwell, if I remember correctly, and he won. I think he even won the rematch, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
So he was champ. I think he blew his knee out pretty badly.
He did.
He's obviously come back and he beat Kaya Sakura to reclaim his Ryzen championship, and I think it's rightful that he gets a shot at the title he never lost. And I think both Archuleta and Pettis would agree. I think Kyoji Horiguchi is one of the best fighters on planet Earth, and it's unfortunate that the UFC didn't see that, or maybe he just wasn't there yet, and he only got better. But he's in that category of fighters I wish the UFC had never released, because I don't want to see him find success outside the UFC, but there are just a lot of matchups I want to see. and all of those fighters happen to be in the UFC, or especially when Demetrius Johnson was still the flyweight champion, or even like Kyoji Horiguchi, Henry Cejudo would have been fantastic. So yeah, it's just a bummer all around. But yeah, Kyoji Horiguchi needs that first title shot. No ifs, ands, or buts. And Patchy Mix can fight James Gallagher because they were supposed to fight anyway, and there's some greasiness there. So make it happen. And Juan Archuleta can fight Magomed right there. Boom. You're welcome.
And you're muted, AK. You know, Mike Heck doesn't have this problem.
And yet you still heard me. Casey, what
No,
happened?
I didn't.
What happened to our
I heard you. I heard.
what happened to our timer?
We just got an update that from our deputy editor Stephen
Are you
Morocco
serious?
that the first fight got bumped 30 minutes.
Are you serious?
That's what it says on the right. Check our.
I do not read our work chat. I don't trust it. I only trust UFC. Guys, I told you, I only take my news from the number one MMA news site in the world, UFC.com. Okay, always up to date, never leads me astray. So the best stories, the best reporters.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I mean that makes sense. Like I said, it was either unofficially going to start at 6:30 or it was going to start at 6. You know what I mean?
They were going to start the broadcast and just do nothing for 30 minutes, basically.
I'm amazed. Like, so what?
On.
Well, what happens at 6 then? Does ESPN Plus just? I guess ESPN Plus. I guess
cornhole,
whatever.
Cornhole.
So, greatest hits cornhole volume 5. Okay, well, yeah.
I love the cornhole matches, and they're wearing masks too. I just think it's funny. I don't know. I mean, yeah, you should wear a mask, but I think it's like we're in a pandemic, but we gotta play cornhole. Safety first, guys. I don't know.
Well, someone should tell the UFC Canada account because they're saying the cards, as usual, us Canadians are not in the loop. UFC Canada just tweeted the card starting in in about 15 minutes.
Okay, the broadcast is going to be still at the same time, but the first fight won't be till 3:30.
All right, that's what we assume.
Yeah,
so, that's what we assume.
We might not go the whole 30.
I don't want to bail on this question yet. Do you agree, Casey, that it's Kyoji, if possible, an option for Cerrone right now?
Scott Coker said the only reason that's not happening right now is their relationship with Rise is because of COVID and just the travel restrictions. So both promotions just said, hey, worry about your own stuff before, we start cross promoting. But I think, I think everything's hopefully getting better, with international travel. Yeah, but obviously, Pettis Horiguchi is the fight to make. But if it's not Horiguchi, I would think. I would like to see Patchy Gallagher still, and I think still Patchy needs to fight a full camp opponent, not a short notice opponent. And but if they want to throw Magomed in there, he's looked great in his first two. I think he's fought 2 times in Bellator already, and of course that's the guy who I forget what promotion but he beat Peter Yan. So.
Right. Look, he's Magomed.
It's a W. You know that. It's a W. Just like Peter Queeley's got a W.
Magomedov is an absolute beast. There's no arguing that. My only concern is I don't know how much the broader
promotional machine
MMA. No, just MMA. I was going to go as far as even Bellator fan. Is there such a thing as a casual Bellator fan, or by nature, if you follow Bellator, are you a hardcore fan? Can you be a casual
MMA fan? The casual MMA fan, like you just see a cage and people punching, you're like, oh, watch,
Let's also not forget that Darren Caldwell's dropping back to 135 to fight.
Yes, there's a compelling.
I think in a few weeks. So
and he's a great wrestler.
He's returning. Yeah, he was a former champ.
He's a great wrestler, and as we know, the Pettis family has often been questioned. Can they handle wrestlers? So that'd be a very, very good matchup. Former champion Bellator and former, Division 1 wrestling champ. So
we also got Stotts too. He looked great last night. It wasn't the most exciting fight, but it was a good victory.
But they're buddies. They train together.
And the gentleman that beat up my favorite Bellator fighter, Henry Corrales. What's his name? Johnny Campbell.
One of the Johnnies.
That guy looked awesome. Man, he beat the crap out of my boy.
So I just want to check quickly. So Magomedov's last most recent fight was on the prelim. So that to me, I hate UFC does this too. I hate when any promotion does this, where someone has to goes from the prelims to the to like a title fight. It's just, I get it. Sometimes you can't control it. You don't know how the division's going to shake out. It's not like they're. Oh, and he was the co-main of his UFC debut. That's not right. Okay. Anyway, so I think you were at this. Were you? No. You were there. This Augustville. Okay, but I don't think he has the exposure level yet. I think he might be the best. It's possible he's the best bantamweight in Bellator. Certainly. I certainly think that fight he's going to get a title shot someday, almost no matter what. But it feels a little too soon. I'd like to see one more win.
You're right.
So
You're right. He needs a probably like a co-main fight on a bigger card. Yeah, he has been the prelims. You're correct. I forgot about that.
Yeah, and he's had a co-main, but I think it was not one of their more like stacked cards, so it definitely didn't get the exposure that it normally would have for a prospect of this. I shouldn't even say prospect. It's 18-1. A contender of this caliber. I saw John Harris in the comments asking, "How do I ask a question?" You just leave it in the YouTube, and Casey will pick it up. So unfortunately, you only get one question. So John Harris, thank you for your question this week. That's a great question. And we'll get you on the next show. You are now banned. Yeah, we answer your question and then you're banned.
Yeah.
So
a great question. Just yell at your computer screen or your phone.
Also, if you yell,
listening to this, just yell and I'll pick it up.
Casey will pick it up.
Yeah.
So we've got more time. So go ahead, keep going up there. Like I said, it looks like we're not getting our first fight for at least another half an hour or so.
I'm not sure what this question means, but I'm gonna put it up. Oh.
Was this a short? Chris Guerrero wants to know, was this a short notice fight for Angela Hill because she fought on March 14th? I mean, it's a quick turnaround. I don't know if you call that short notice necessary. It's a relatively quick turnaround, I suppose, for a fighter, right?
I don't think either fighter considered it short notice.
Not for her.
Angela Hill she has weight cuts, but not like a giant weight cut. So she's one. That's why she's one of those fighters that can kind of come back relatively quickly. So not the biggest weight cut. I mean, not the biggest short notice.
And I think the Yoder fight, she was pretty dominant. I don't think she suffered any like big scrapes or injuries from that fight. So I do think, but I get it. Yeah. See, someone's mentioning 6 weeks. I do feel like 6 weeks is for most people would be considered quick. For Angela Hill, it's a Tuesday. So
yeah,
it's not short notice, but
cool.
What else, Casey?
Another Angela Hill question.
Oh, people are gonna miss her. Oh, Joseph Bozo says, let's see. This is a Jose question. Does Angie Hill have the worst bad luck ever? 3 of her last 4 fights have been canned due to COVID-19 stuff, I believe he's referring to. Jose, what some of the worst luck ever for a UFC fighter, Angela Hill?
I mean, she could be the most cursed fighter in the pandemic era for sure. I mean, you'd have to throw Ian McCall on that list. Remember, like there was a stretch of time where he was like linked to pretty much everyone at 125 pounds, and either he got hurt, his opponent got hurt, or sick, or weird weight cutting issues. So I think he just is at the very top of my list for opponents.
And it carried over to Ryzen. It carried over to
Ryzen. So he might be
like a rope. It got by a rope.
Was it Manel Cape he was fighting Ryzen too?
Yeah.
He fought Manel Cape, but in the freaking rope. I've never seen that before. It's just one.
So I'm pretty sure he beat Brad Pickett on that crazy Dublin card, the McGregor Diego card, and then like he was supposed to fight Lineker, and he had like a blood infection, and then I think eventually he rematched Lineker, but I think Lineker might have missed weight, and then I think McCall pulled out of the a Dustin Ortiz fight. I think a Justin Scoggins fight fell out. I think a Ray Borg fight fell out. I think a Neil Seery fight fell out. Like maybe Jared Brooks too, if I remember correctly. I don't remember who pulled out of what. Like if it was McCall or his opponents, but there was like a stretch of time where he just could not catch a break. And it was always like the week of the fight, these things would happen, or like days before, hours before the fight or weigh-in. So yeah, I'd probably put him number 1, but Angie's probably right up there.
And the other thing with Ian McCall is there's a world where before the UFC, implemented flyweights, he was maybe the number 1 flyweight in the world, right? He was I think he was the Tachi Palace champion, right? And he had beaten.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And then of course, there's another world where a more trigger happy ref. Well, and one, if he kind of stops to, I remember he was beating up DJ and he kind of stops to like, what is it? Celebrate, taunt, pose. What was it? How do you want to describe it? When he was the DJ,
he had full fight. Mount on his back.
And and he kind of,
I think he's more playing up to, he's like playing up to the crowd. If anything.
Sure, as you should. But there's a world where maybe he pours it on and there's maybe a quick stoppage, and Ian McCall has a win over Demetrius Johnson on his record. So as unlucky as Angela Hill's been, boy, that Ian McCall story. Every time you bring it up, and start listing off all the things that happened to him. It's like that all happened to one guy. That all happened to the same guy. Like, no, that's not possible. So anyone, look up people. We've written out Ian McCall. A lot of people have written about this. Ages reading about Ian McCall. So please look that stuff up. It's a wild, unbelievable story. Hello, Michael Easter for PEI. Good to see you.
What do you
Casey,
call it?
PEI, Prince Edward Island, man, come on.
The PI?
PEI. PEI, the UFC PEI.
Oh, PEI, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Now you're encouraging every Canadian
is,
person to
where's Prince Edward Island? I have no idea. Tell me more about it.
Far east relative to me.
So
the east coast.
Oh.
It's beautiful. Beautiful.
Is this Jordan Breen area? Is he from?
I don't think.
Isn't Jordan Breen?
Maybe. I mean, he lives in Toronto now.
Wait, no, but that's where he's from, man. He wasn't.
I don't know where Jordan Breen is from.
Jeez, man, come on.
I know, my fellow Canadian. I should know everything about.
Yeah, I thought you knew everyone in Canada at least.
Azan Zaman back. Missed weight by 4.5 pounds. Second time missed weight for a UFC fight, by the way. Do you think 30% of his purse is a bit low? Casey, do we need a more punitive system when it comes to
this was short notice, correct? Though this fight
for both guys, wasn't it? Though, wasn't it? I don't think it was a replacement.
I think it was both. It was both guys took this fight around the same time, I believe. Like just because Gregor had his fight against Riddell pulled out, and Ferreira just fought like a month or two ago. So it's not like one of them was filling in or anything.
I think 30%. No. I think it should be 30% of the purse and your win bonus too if you win the fight. And that 30% will, of course, if you beat your opponent, then your opponent gets 30% of your win bonus. The fact that it's 30% of the show money only only means that it's really only 15%, to be honest, if you win the fight. So that's my issue, not the 30%. It's the 30% that's only of the purse itself. But this is a short notice fight. I wish the problem is I know these fighters wanted. The UFC just hates doing catch weights because they just, I don't know, because the graphics guy has the right catch weight and whatever. I mean, it's a bit of a nothing burger thing to me. It's just
one of them made weight, so it wasn't an issue for one of them.
What, two different people? Though.
Yeah, Jose, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. Well, I'm saying if they signed I don't know I think if it's like super short notice like Michelle and Marina, then have them bump up. But if they think they can make it, then I mean it sucks. But if they say they can make it, they could. It sucks. Yeah, it just sucks.
So the fight should be canceled. Do you think? Do you think the fight should be canceled? Or
no, I think if it was 30% is what usually it's 20, right?
Yeah,
20.
Like 30's high in general.
Yeah.
So
30.
I don't know. I have no idea because I don't know monetarily what these two individuals are making. Like, is 30% a massive chunk of money for like someone of Diego Ferreira's finances, or is it like a whatever? Like if Conor gets fined 30%, he's like whatever, like 30%. I don't know. They're these individuals' finances. So, but
it's only 30% of the purse, which is
I understand that, but I don't know how much money he has himself. Like, is 30% a massive blow to his income in general? I have absolutely no idea.
That's the issue.
You're asking me you soy boys.
What?
If you're asking me if 30% is high, it sounds high to me, but I don't know if that's high to Diego Ferreira. Is what I'm saying. I don't know.
But you know what? But the commissions and the other and Gregor's team can't think about that either. They got to think about themselves. So I have seen someone propose, 20% for 1 or 2 pounds over, and then for every pound after that, another 10%. 10%.
No, but it depends on weight class too. Depends on weight class because missing by 2 pounds at 115 versus missing by 2 pounds at 205 is a big freaking difference.
Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it doesn't
by weight class.
Maybe we just again make it uniform. We don't adjust by weight class. So this would be 45%. So we would just go, a percentage for every pound over or something like that. I know it's a lot. It's crazy. And look, you're right. These penalties are not getting to the root of the problem. Like we said, they need to be more liberal with booking catchweight bouts.
Yeah.
Again, but as Jose pointed out, both guys signed on, so that's not an excuse for Ferreira on this occasion. They both signed on. He should have made weight. I'm not questioning that. But in general, the whole process of, I think managers need to be more aggressive with suggesting catch weights. I think the UFC should be the one to say, hey, you guys should
fighters
do a catch
too.
weight.
Like, who was it that fought? Was it
just last week?
No,
sorry.
this is like years ago when KJ Noons fought someone. Remember, they were like,
Sam Stout.
Sam Stout. They were just like, you want to do 170? They were like, okay. And like that was it.
That's
Like
great.
fighters can do it. They did it like the week of the fight too.
How many times has that happened?
I have no idea.
Once.
One.
Because the UFC put a stop to that. Because that means the UFC never let that happen again. Because the fighters go, hey, you just want to fight right? I mean, you show up, fight, or walking away right now. Like, cool, which is how it should be. But the UFC is like, oh, we have a board and we have columns and rows, and like, we can't change it now. So, but they'll change it when they need a main event, you know. So obviously Michelle and Marina were like, 125, take it or leave it. Like, all right.
So I'll give a quick finger wag to Diego Ferreira, but hopefully he gets that story. Again, like I said, it is the second time he's missed weight, which kind of sucks. But again, this is indicative of a bigger problem, as we saw with Ryan Benoit. I'm amazed there's no Ryan Benoit questions, guys. Fortunately, we heard that Ryan Benoit, I believe ESPN reported that Ryan Benoit was taken to the hospital after not falling off the scale, but certainly looking like, to use a technical term, crap on the scale. He looked like garbage. He could barely stand. His team his team and officials were out there like propping him up, just kind of like, oh, if he looks like he's going to fall, just kind of tap him so he doesn't fall, so we can get it was so disturbing. And again, thankfully, he was taken to the hospital. I believe he was cleared as of yesterday, so hopefully everything's fine. He's already back to being rehydrated. But I mean, we shouldn't even be talking about this. It's just a stupid story. And his fight with Zaruk Adashev, who did make weight, was canceled. So hopefully Adashev got his show money, or the UFC gave him the old, we'll rebook you soon, and you'll be, don't worry about it. But it's the money will come when it comes. So I don't know. But yeah, guys, indicative, bigger problem. And I just want to touch upon one of the sub question from that. Casey Scott McCrate asking, will Gregor get 100% of the fight of the night bonus if they win one? I feel like they used to do that. Now I feel like they just go away from if it's like both guys are ineligible now if one guy misses. Is that true? That's happened now, right?
The Daryl Horcher got, if I remember, he got the fight of not Daryl Horcher, sorry. Tristan Conley got the full 100K because of the fight night.
For Demolador. Michelle
Pereira. In general, they just don't give fight. That just hasn't. There was a fight recently where I thought that the guy that missed weight wound up being in the fight of the night. I was like, cool. That means the other guy's gonna get $100,000, but they wound up getting fight of the night to some other sloppy heavyweight fight. I can't remember. Yeah.
So it does. So I don't know if there's an official word on it. It does feel like when someone misses weight, they kind of just unofficially kind of say, "Well, we're not gonna reward that fight." Maybe if something. And by the way, maybe something crazy happens. Maybe Gregor Gillespie and Diego Ferreira put on the fight of the year, and we're totally wrong, and they get fight of the night, and Gregor gets 100K. That'd be very cool for Gregor if that happened. But from what we've seen trend wise, it doesn't seem like they even want to have to make that decision. So. I don't know. A really messy situation all around. So fighters, more catch weights, please.
We need like a team of people to carry you to the scale. That's not a good sign.
Horrible.
That's just not a good sign.
And then they brought him, for anyone who didn't see, the clip was on MMAfighting.com, guys. He courtesy, by the way, of Amy Kaplan. They took him away. And the doctors looked at him, and then moments later, they brought him back to weigh in. It's like, he probably shouldn't, if he has to be looked at by the doctors after not being able to stand on the scale, probably don't weigh him in. But I get it. They thought there was a chance the fight could happen. They want to get paid. It's just such a stupid system.
To me, like that's when you do before you even weigh in. The matchmakers are back there. They go, okay, we want this fight to happen. Was it 125 fight?
No, 125. Correct.
No, 125. They go, let's do a quick catch weight. Let me just scratch out 125. Right, 130. Here's 25% of Mr. Benoit's money to you, the opponent. I don't know his name, and then they get the fight, Stop cutting weight. Just dude, the whole catchweight thing, the UFC is so scared of it. The main event's at 125. Neither of these women have fought at 125, maybe ever, at least in their UFC career. And is anyone going, I'm not going to watch the main event now because, they're 10 pounds fat. It's just not happening. Like,
No, it makes no sense. It's I just saw a comment made me chuckle. John Harris. Sorry, I know I said he was banned, but no, he
he's
said they
back,
need
baby.
he said he's back. He said they need a lie down scale. Wouldn't that be great if they started dragging? They just carted the fighter out, put him on the scale, and weighed him, and then like carted him off. Oh, that would be so horrible. I'm
No,
sorry. It's a terrible thing to joke about. It's a
no,
terrible
it's
thing.
not. It's that scale. If you take your dog to the vet, if you take a big dog to the vet, you've seen there's just like a big square. You just put your dog on it. You know, they need one of those. Just like shove them on, like don't move. You know, just have a little squeaker toy for the fighter so they don't get distracted. You know.
So this is horrible, guys. This is not extreme weight cutting. Is nothing to joke about. Don't listen to us. It's not something to joke about. Casey, please let's go back to the people. The people are educated. Please let them steer this show back into decency. Oh, John Harris. There you go. Okay, John Harris. You got an actual question on the show. Do you see MVP beating Lima in the rematch? José Youngs, break it down.
We didn't even talk about MVP yet.
Yeah, if maybe. Again, like that first fight, MVP was finding a lot of success in the first round, but it's not like he was piecing up Lima. It's more like Lima was like trying to figure it out. He hadn't figured the puzzle out in that first round yet. And MVP kind of had him on his toes and he was finding his openings, but it's not like anyone was just being like smashed in that round. And then MVP just made one simple mistake when he got his legs kicked out. And then he did a lazy stand-up and ate a hook to the jaw and was knocked out cold. Everyone, of course, see the replay, but if you watch just that, like those 5 seconds of the fight, it's not really indicative of the fight all around. Even after that fight, I was like, I want to see the rematch at some point, just because MVP was finally. It's even to date, it's his toughest test to date, and I don't think he was failing it. It was like we hear this phrase a lot. I was doing well until I wasn't. Which a lot of people roll their eyes about because it's usually a fighter that's kind of being outclassed until he gets caught or clipped or submitted. I think that phrase is perfect for MVP's performance. He was doing well. He wasn't dominating, but he was in there easily, and Lima hadn't figured it out yet, and a mistake left him open. It's not like Lima cracked the code and then just bull rushed him and beat him. So I've been wanting that rematch for a while. Lima's obviously had to go through the Grand Prix, win the title, and then he went up to middleweight and just got beat by a bigger middleweight in Gegard Mousasi, who could very well be the greatest middleweight of all time. When it's all said and done, I just think he needs a few more defenses before we can talk about that, add him to that category. But Lima MVP has a lot of question marks for me. Lima could win 10 out of 10 times, or it could be 50-50. All I know is I want to see it. But of course, Lima has his hands full with the title defense already. I just want to see MVP.
Very tough guy.
Yeah, maybe MVP Larkin. I think that'd be a fun fight. I know they're really good friends, and they might not want to happen. So I don't know. I really want to see MVP fight for the championship at one point. And I like what he said in his press conference, where he's saying, if anything, what these Bellator rankings do, that kind of legitimizes his opponents, because if you see MVP is ranked like 2 when he's fighting 5 and he beats him like that, can you call the number 5 ranked, 4 ranked fighter a can in that division? Of course. I mean, anyone in Bellator is not going to get their fair shake in the worldwide rankings anyway. And I'm not by any means saying the Bellator welterweight top 5 is, I wouldn't put them on the same level as the UFC's top 5. I think the UFC's top 5 is just pretty unbelievable right now. But Lima and MVP and Larkin, like, they could all do phenomenal in the UFC. I want to see MVPs fight someone else that's at the caliber of Derek Anderson. See if you can pull off what he did again and shatter another nose.
Larkin was a solid definite top 10 fighter when he left the UFC. He just beat the crap out of Neil Magny. So, yeah, sorry.
Buddies, I think the fight could happen. I don't think they'd be against it. But I think one option we haven't mentioned, which MVP himself mentioned in his immediately post-fight, was Jason Jackson. Jason Jackson looks really good against Neiman Gracie.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So
I think that's the way to go.
As much as I want to see MVP versus Lima, as much as I want to see MVP versus Jason Jackson, who I'm really high on too. To hell, I'd love to see MVP versus Neiman Gracie. I'd love to see that. I want to see like striker versus like grappler. I love that. The fight I honestly want to see, because I feel like we're just running out of time, is MVP versus Raymond Daniels. Because Raymond Daniels is like 41, 42, and I just don't want Raymond Daniels to age out of the age out of fighting, you know. So while Raymond Daniels still is, you know, a young man and still can throw those crazy kicks, I just want the MVP versus Raymond Daniels. I think that's just incredible fight. I'm picking MVP, but make it happen.
Ray Daniels, I think he just recently get injured? I feel like he had to bow out of a scheduled contest.
Just won a fight.
He just won a fight? When was this?
He beat the guy. It was a good fight. He controlled the guy on the ground. He beat the guy with it was a rematch with the guy he kicked in the nuts 20 times.
I was about to say, oh, sorry. See, that was that's what I did not remember they ran it back. Okay, my bad. I just was thinking about the first.
He just ran it back, and it was actually a good performance, Raymond Daniels, because it was like he looked great. He like 10-7 the guy. The guy somehow survived, but Raymond just actually controlled him on the ground for the last, not the whole round, but it was a full mixed martial arts fight.
Let's also not forget Lorenz Larkin. Like I said, I want to watch MVP Larkin, but Larkin, of course, his last fight was a middleweight against Rafael Carvalho, so maybe he sticks a middleweight too if he wants to.
Larkin said he's definitely going down. He said
that's fair. He's oddly enough, weirdly enough, I can't find him in the Bellator rankings. I don't know if that's just an oversight or a mix-up, but I can't find him anywhere.
Larkin?
Yeah.
Maybe it's
I think maybe because he hasn't fought at welterweight since the rankings.
I was gonna say,
out.
Yeah, and he just fought at middleweight yesterday, right?
Yeah. So maybe maybe they're waiting for his first. Yeah, maybe they're actually having some sort of rule set on like the UFC.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Because in my rankings, when I do my personal rankings, if you're out for 12 months or 365 days, you are off my rankings. Unless, of course, you've signed contracts and it's out of your control, like Angela Hill.
So the Ray Daniels MVP matchup obviously would be insane. They are friends. Again, not that this precludes them fighting. They are friends. I remember I spoke to Raymond Daniels a while ago. He said he'd be open to it. They come from sport karate. They kind of come from the same background. And it's funny, Ray Daniels was telling me that he's like, I don't want, he's like, my only worry is that fans are expecting some kind of like, you know, high octane, like, you know, kung fu movie battle, when really he says it would be very much kind of a probably slow paced at first, one of those just two guys, a lot of feints, which is great. I mean, I think a lot of us.
It'll be like Wonder Boy and Darren Till.
Yeah, right. So really like these bursts of action, but you know, not guys throwing any crazy stuff. They're just both so skilled. Yeah, you know,
you're not wrong, Raymond. Nutshot handles. Everyone wants to see Izzy versus Darren Till, and I think that'd be an incredibly fun, high-level striking fight. But man, there'd be a lot. I think the first couple of rounds is going to be a lot of looking at each other, trying to kind of like fake each other out.
That's tension.
I don't either. I'm not saying no. I love those. I like those fights. Like anytime you get two master people of their skill set, I'm for it. It's just, you know, the first few rounds are going to be a lot of like fakes and everything, which is great, cool, awesome. I'm here for it, but just don't expect like what AK just said, don't expect some crazy Mortal Kombat style fight where they're just throwing spin and shit for 25 minutes.
The best case scenario for those sort of things for me is always, I remember Vitor and Anderson Silva. If I remember the Vitor, like for the until the kick to the face happened, there was very little like strikes being thrown.
It was a good 3 minutes of nothing.
And then
it just ended. Yeah. Something like that. It was 3 or 4 minutes of nothing almost. Yeah.
But that's your best case scenario. You have two guys who are like masters. You're like, holy crap! You're like just so tense for every moment, and then you get that big finish, and then we all go home happy, nodding our heads because we saw someone get hurt. So
I remember that. I think I felt that way for the first 10 minutes of Ngannou versus Lewis. Then I go, oh wait a minute, the third.
It's just not happening.
It's just not happening. You know those fights where you just like, oh, okay, that was a filling out round. Okay, that was another filling out round. Okay, that was okay. They're really filling each other out, but this round, and then just.
I will almost want to touch. Michael Easter was asking, "What's the next homophone matchup after Neil versus Neil?" I think, guys, listen to Mike and I's matchmaking podcast. On to the next ones, released every Sunday and Monday. And we always bring up these stupid matchups where people just match up people with the same name. So I think the latest one was TJ Brown versus TJ Laramie, hashtag TJ on TJ. And then someone said Amanda Hebus. This is before this fight was booked, I think. Amanda Hebus, Amanda Lemos. So Amanda X Amanda. So I don't. There's so many out there. So many.
Did you see TJ Dillashaw? He was cornering Juan Archuleta last night.
Him and Cub Swanson,
they're all training partners. So it was interesting. It's like, because I was like, oh man, TJ, like he was supposed to be fighting now. Well, not now, but tonight. And you could definitely see I mean, it healed up, but clearly, you can't fight with the skin was still too thin. But just thought that was interesting. Yeah, there's TJ.
Let's go, Casey. What do we got? Let's get some more questions in here
we got
before our first actual fight happens, which will be Christian Aguilera and the debuting Carlston Harris, which I think is going to end very quickly.
All right, here we go. I'm assuming if
so serious. Will Cerrone leave the glove? Well, he doesn't say necessarily with a loss. Will Cerrone leave the? Well, I think we all agree with the win. Will Cerrone leave the gloves in the octagon? I obviously I think with a win, definitely not. I think with a loss, definitely not either. Jose, you're shaking your head.
I would say no. I think if Donald Cerrone is going to hang him up, he's probably going to want to do it in an arena with fans. If he is going to hang him up, I bet because who's Misha Tate fighting next?
Marion Renault.
Marion Renault kind of gave the UFC a heads up saying this is my last fight. Mark Munoz did that too. So when the UFC was they kind of build out hey, this is last fight. I would imagine they would want Cerrone to get some sort of fanfare if he does hang him up. But it's up to him. I'm never going to tell a fighter to retire or not.
Casey?
I'm assuming this is say if Cerrone just gets worked, No, he'll still have one more fight regardless. I'll say a big no. Yeah, basically what Jose said. I think Cerrone has he's earned that farewell fight, and it's really speaking of farewell fights, it's really a giant bummer that Diego Sanchez got no farewell with the fans. And I have to bring it up. It's like Diego Sanchez isn't Jake Paul. I'm not trying to just bring it up just to get clicks, but no.
It's not Diego I'm worried about bringing up. It's something it's the other guy that comes up and we bring up Diego now. But we don't have to. You're right.
But I'm just I would like. I mean that bummed me out. That bummed me how DC retired with zero fans, and he had to go straight to the hospital because his eye. DC had a horrible retirement. Retirement fight. He got the eye poke and no fans. It was a bummer. So I do hope Cerrone gets to when he does leave the UFC or MMA, there is an arena for him for the fans.
Look, I do want to get a couple more questions in, but I don't know. He's kind of said because he's just been cut now, we're not really ever going to get a chance to properly eulogize the UFC career of Diego Sanchez. So I think now is as good a time as any, unless you guys want to save your thoughts for another show, maybe when he actually, when we know Diego's retired for good. But again, as far as we know, I don't think he's, based on his comments about the UFC, anything's possible. It doesn't look like he'll be back anytime soon. So probably we have seen him fight for last time in the UFC. I mean, Jose, how do you sum up how long was he with the organization for?
2005? 2005 was
I was going to say 16 years, I believe.
Who's been around longer?
Yeah.
Nobody.
Well, he had 10 plus fights before he even made his UFC debut. Diego Sanchez has a win over Nick Diaz, pre Elite XC Strikeforce Nick Diaz.
Yeah, so where do you begin? Where do you begin to again? Because Casey's right. Forget this other stuff. He should be celebrated.
Yeah,
Diego Sanchez is one of, I think at one point, one of the first real high. Obviously, there's high action fighters, but he kind of had the entire package in terms of his skill set. He could submit you, he could knock you out, he could wrestle you, he could grapple with you, and he also had just insane cardio. He was really intense. He was one of those first fighters where he wasn't a one-trick pony, and even his stare downs were kind of can't miss. Remember his Clay Guida stare down, his Carl Parisian stare down. It felt like every single fight he was in was a possible fight of the night. And he rattled off 4 or 5 wins in the UFC before he even lost. And I think his first loss was to Koscheck, and then he had that split decision over John Fitch. But also, let's not forget when he beat Kenny Florian when he won the Ultimate Fighter, that was at middleweight. And then he dropped to welterweight. And then he dropped to lightweight. And then at one point, he even dropped to featherweight.
Bad idea. We're not going to talk about that.
Terrible idea. Terrible idea. And then he jumped back up. But I even remember, I think it was UFC 200. It was the media day before his fight against Joe Lozon. And he's like, when I beat Joe Lozon, I want to fight Khabib just because no one wants to. This is pre Diego Sanchez. Like, and even then, like, do you remember on the? I don't know if Casey remembers because he's not a big Ultimate Fighter fan, and I'm not a fan of the Ultimate Fighter by any means. But I watched that first season, and like, remember when Diego Sanchez was doing like Tai Chi, like on the rocks outside, and then there was a lightning storm. He's like, I'm gonna go stand outside and like harness the power of the lightning.
The yes
So it's like
cartwheel.
this whole thing that he's doing now with his coach and guru or whatever you want to call it. Like if you were to tell me like, oh, UFC fighters kind of falling into this weird system of cult like situation, I would probably assume it'd be Diego Sanchez, just because he's done some weird stuff in his days before. He also really was the first fighter out of Jackson Wink to put that camp on the map, because obviously Rashad Evans was there for a long time too, but for years Diego Sanchez was the face of that gym before like John Jones and Rashad and Holly Holm.
And then there was
like,
the drama when GSP joined. There was the drama there because they
Yeah,
at the time
even-
Diego was at welterweight. Yeah.
Yeah, so like it's a bummer because Diego Sanchez is also one of those guys that never really said no to opponents. Like even if you look his last few fights, like who's the last person to fight that he fought that was, because it feels like Diego's been a veteran of the game for like 5 or 6 years. When's the last time he fought when's the last time he fought a quote unquote fellow veteran? It's probably the Matt Brown fight, right? When he got elbowed into oblivion, and that was, yeah. And then after that, who was it? Like Craig White, prospect, Mickey Gall, prospect, Michael Chiesa, just prime Michael Chiesa. Michelle
and
Pereira,
less experience.
Yeah, Michelle Pereira, less experience. I would still consider him a prospect at that time. Jake Matthews, I wouldn't really consider a prospect anymore, but he's a massive welterweight who was really young in the game when he debuted. So I think he was prime Jake Matthews. So rough go at it for Diego Sanchez for a minute.
And I think Jake Matthews was what, 10 years old or something when Diego was on the Ultimate Fighter, or even younger. Something that's crazy. Casey, I mean, look, like we're saying, Diego's and he's a true original. You know, we've everyone, look, we can kind of mock his eccentricity. I'm sure we've done our fair share of it. The media's done it, you know, but generally in a loving way, you know, and that's why it makes this current scene so like disturbing. But Casey, yeah, I mean, what do you think of James and Diego Sanchez thoughts?
I've been around Diego plenty of times, non-fight week stuff. Like usually when I'm in Albuquerque, covering, like working, you know, shooting fighters down Albuquerque. And Diego once had me do the yes chant in the gym. Like he made me do the yes chant. Like he went to everyone. He was like, "Do yes." I was like, "Yes, yes." You know, he went to me
because everyone credits Daniel Bryan in the WWE for kind of coming up with that. Remember, it kind of took the world by storm for like 3 or 4 years, and that was like Diego Sanchez started that for sure.
And when I did it, I was like, yes. And he just looked at me. I was like, yes. He just looked at me. I was like, fuck, yes. It's like you had to do it. And I was like, but afterward, you know what? I felt alive.
He also, I believe,
the cartwheels. Remember the cartwheels?
Who was he had that fight against I don't know what was a mentally challenged individual who Diego Sanchez kind of
they did like a charity
had a quote unquote fight, a charity fight. Like for anyone who watches professional wrestling, Diego he was kind of trained with him and was like Diego was like his favorite fighter, and they did the full entrances, they did the introductions, and Diego quote unquote lost by submission. And for all the pro wrestling fans, the terminology is Diego sold the hell out of that armbar, because if you watch that when they're doing the hand raise, Diego's like gingerly holding his arm and like he can't raise it when he's like, you know, like that is one of the coolest videos you can see in MMA. To the point where when the Jackson Wink versus Diego John Jones situation was happening, John Jones brought that up, and it was just a bummer. It was just an absolute bummer when that happened.
All I hope I hope Diego gets his shit together. I hope his medicals are actually good, because I know there's a whole medicals thing. You know, that's a whole kind of all this stupidness of school of self-awareness crap. There is actual the medical issue. You know, CTs and stuff CT and all that stuff. That's super important too, and it's kind of getting lost in just the craziness. But I just hope he's healthy, and if another promotion brings on Diego, I just hope it's healthy.
Do your due diligence.
I just hope it's healthy. That's all.
Yeah, for anyone who wants to see that clip that Jose just brought up, and again, what I think one of the best moments of Diego's career, you can look up Diego Sanchez Fights Fan on YouTube. The fan's name was Isaac Marquez, the Shermanator. So that's out there on YouTube, guys. It's on the Jackson Wink YouTube. Not hard to find. Great clip. And we all wish Diego the best. Whether he decides to fight again or not, we just hope the story has a happy ending, because we don't always get those in combat sports. But guys, the timer is at 0. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining José Youngs, me, Casey Leydon, myself, Alexander K. Lee on this pre-fight fan Q&A. Go enjoy the fights now. There will be a post-fight show. Hopefully, let's not forget, Canelo is also fighting later tonight with Billy Joe Saunders. And Mike Heck, fingers crossed, will be joining the MMA Fighting post-fight show. But for now, take care.